Dear friends, I want to wish you a Shabbat Shalom and a good Chodesh, as this Friday and Shabbat is Rosh Chodesh for the new month of Iyar, the month that connects Nisan, the holiday of Passover, Pesach, and Sivan, the holiday of Shavuos, the giving of the Torah, and really they're all connected, as the going out of Egypt was just a beginning of the process to receive the Torah, and the month of Iyar, representing the counting of the Omer, is the connector that enabled us to be prepared and ready to receive the Torah at Mount Sinai, the great experience that we had. This week's Torah portion is Tazria-Metzora. It's a double portion talking about the same issue predominantly of tzaras, of lesions that grow on a person's skin, the different colors, and how to identify if it falls under the category of tzaras, a leprosy, in a person's clothes, or even in their home. Now, there's one fascinating law, which we read, that tzaras is when you have a lesion in the skin, and part of the way of identifying if it's the thing of tzaras that makes you impure is that you look at it based on the skin around it. If it looks deeper, the white color looks deeper than the skin around it. And the Torah tells us what happened if you had a lesion and then it sat a few days and all of a sudden it spread across the entire body. And the whole body now has this discoloration. And the Torah tells us you should know in such a situation that Kohen tells the person, Tahor, go home, you're fine, you're good. This is not tzaras. Imagine, you have a small little lesion the size of a quarter, and that's tzaras, or even smaller. But if it fills your whole body, it's not tzaras. It doesn't make any sense. On the contrary, the bigger it is, the worse it is. Some kind of a message God is trying to give us, because tzaras was generally a message of being careful of speaking gossip. And the answer is that to say that the entirety of the person has become identified as something negative, as a tzarua, as a leper, that the Torah doesn't accept. And this is a very important lesson for us, because we live in a world and in a time today, especially with the woke movement, that everybody just identifies people in a very black and white way. You're good and totally good, or you're bad and totally bad. But the truth is, this is not the true situation. There are people who have bad traits, characteristics, they have got into terrible habits, they behave badly, but they're never fully bad. There's always something good within everyone. And the Torah actually encourages us to find the good within the person. And so too, in terms of goodness in our world, very few people are totally good. Everyone has a little bit of some negativity within them. And that's the challenge of humanity. But when we look at another person and all we see is negative, we cannot even find any healthy skin, anything healthy in the person, anything positive. That means that we are not looking correctly. And you cannot make the person be identified as totally being negative. And we find the same law when judges are sitting in a criminal case of capital punishment, where at that point, the judges have to give the ruling, and in Judaism we follow the majority. And there were 71 judges. And if one of the judges, or if all the judges, minus one, says guilty, and one says guilty, or the opposite, 70 say guilty, not one says not guilty, then the person gets capital punishment. What happens if all the judges say guilty? So the law is they're not guilty. It's impossible that so many people will be looking at someone's case and not to be able to find a question, a doubt, if this is really the truth. what we're condemning the person for. It's almost like a lynching. And when we talk in such absolute terms and we look at someone and say they're bad and we can't find anything good in that person, it's like a lynching. And the Torah doesn't accept it. And therefore, even in saras, which is a symptom happening in the person's body, it's not a sign of a leprosy or negative thing. It's just some fluke. This is so important of a lesson in our lives. We always have to find some good in the worst people. Most people have a lot of good. But even in the worst of people, there must be some good that we can find within humanity, within our fellow Jews, our fellow people, and try to work with the good to allow it to overcome the negative and become the predominant force within the person. So God bless you all. We love you all. Shabbat Shalom. Happy Rosh Chodesh. Candlelighting time in Montreal, 7:30 p.m.